On today's show, Adge Marz, the first time that Adge and I met, we were at Imaloa, and she came plowing into the heart, full of energy and life. I think, Adge, you might have jumped in my arms if I remember correctly. I remembered that you actually left home in Nicaragua on an overnight bus in the middle of the night to ride into Costa Rica over the border. And just so y'all know, there really is no other way to get here from Nicaragua. So Adge was not just like being wild. That's actually what she had to do to be able to get here, even though we're neighboring countries. Adge is an adventurer, and she has created a retreat for the lovers of dance out there. She's a mom, a wife, and a human to many animals. She chooses to spread joy through creative community and spiritual teachings. And Adge, I love that we're able to be in this conversation together.
Thank you so much, Jake. I appreciate the intro and the opportunity to speak my heart with Imaloa.
I really admire how you show up in the world. And I think, the way you live your life, I imagine likely inspires the content of what it is you share at retreats. And I know that you travel and you school the kid from where you're traveling, and you're working all on the move, all while including sustainable practices and movement education as part of your life. How has this flexibility in your life helped you see the world differently than most people our age?
Oh, so beautiful. I'm really committed to that. I'm committed to consistently widening my own paradigm. And there's really no better way than exploring cultures and language. And it was interesting because I was settled for so long teaching in the US, and the international teaching opportunity surprised me. It began very much as an invitation to come do some teacher trainings in Nicaragua. And I fell in love with this whole other way of life. And as those containers grew and the opportunity grew, I really had to bring my family along. So we began to make a conscious choice around, can we raise our daughter this way? Can we reestablish a set of values that we can live by without feeling the outside influence or the way others may, want to penetrate those things? So I really consider Rob, my husband, and myself and my daughter like a Phoenix family. We've really gone out and just burned down whatever structures haven't worked for us, figured out the next ones. And I think that's why we're in such a wild land like Nicaragua. Our daughter's learning Spanish. Rob is able to do sustainable building and design. And I can just live my passion of movement and work in this way.
If people think you're cool, by the way, they should meet your husband, Rob, who's just the coolest. I mean, what a mountain man. That guy will just, he'll just chop down trees for you if you need to, or wrestle a cow. Like, he's just, and yet he seems so sensitive too. How long have you all been together for?
That's so sweet. That's exactly how I would describe Rob myself. He just loved Imaloa and the construction there and was in such awe through that lens. But really, truly, he's a gentle giant. And we are celebrating 15 years this month. We ended up on an accidental date the other night because we're not big about tracking. We're like pretty wild ourselves. And we looked at each other. We said, oh my gosh, it really was 15 years ago, like this May time. And here we are celebrating in Colorado, magically, where we met. So no accidents in life.
I don't believe there were any accidents. And I'm seeing the through line in your life. Like, there seems to be a level of freedom that people think they're going to get when they achieve something, when they have an amount of money in the bank. And I'm hearing like unschooling the daughter. I mean, that's my word, unschooling, but like bringing her to Nicaragua, creating a life for yourselves there as a Phoenix family. I love this. Even not tracking 15 years of marriage. How did you cultivate this sense of freedom in your life as a practice? Like, it's not woo-woo. It's actually it seems very grounded. How did you cultivate it for people that are listening and being like, I'd love that life, but I have this, this, and that, or I have to achieve this, this, and that. How did you cultivate it?
I love the way that you put that, because I do think it has a lot to do with not waiting for something to be perfect or ready. And I really will relate it to finding Colorado halfway through my life. That was my biggest first adventure of following my heart. But I would back up further than that and say, I was given a lot of childhood as a reference point of what I didn't want in life. So that created this personal rebellion that I sort of moved from, but I have too big of a heart to be like a bratty rebellion. I was more like how do we expand this? How do we look at this differently? How can this be positive even when the circumstances around us maybe aren't supporting that. Let's dig in further. Let's find this, nugget in everything. And I think at a young age, that's where I grasped my intuitive abilities, and I didn't know what to call them until this adventurous spirit got to be expressed at 19. When I finally left those strains of growing up in so much structure, I just left and I saw that freedom.
So
I really did.
At 19, so you moved to Colorado when you're 19. Before that, are you in like a cult? You're talking about like structures and that a lot of things in your childhood were unwanted. Were you in a cult?
It feels like that almost. That's a great question. No, I grew up in Philadelphia.
Okay.
So just like rigid city life, which I love because it gave me my grit. But even just more of the structures around me, there was a lot of Catholic religion. And then even just the technique of dance to wrap in my biggest theme here. It's like I was given this gorgeous opportunity to deeply study the technique of dance. And even at a young age, I thought to myself, ooh, this could be more empowering. This could be really different. This could be wilder. We could be empowering people in the room instead of breaking them down through ballet. Like I, from a young age, was given these experiences that I'm so grateful for because they gave me technique and foundation. But very early on, or I should say, and very early on, I knew I wanted it to be more expansive for me.
Oh, I love this. Okay, so I'm getting it. So it was actually the structure of religion and even the structure of what was a love of yours and now is a big part of the retreat at Imaloa, which is dance. So you didn't like you were broken down. You were broken down. It's like when they break horses down so that they can be trail horses. And like I work with horses here in Costa Rica where the unbreaking of them is actually what is the point of the whatever they do, the horse therapy, the equestrian facilitated learning. And so are you kind of like unbreaking dancers, like those people unbreak horses?
Oh my gosh, you couldn't relate it to something more beautiful.
Yeah.
I believe so much in the horse too. It's such a Zen being, and they are the all feeling, the all intuitive animal. So they really do fit this essence of, I believe that we have the capability to feel energy the way horses do. And it is literally very much through a somatic body experience. So we can enter the body and just be given shapes and be given techniques and be given physical things to do and copy. Or we can choose to enter that way, but then penetrate other levels of spirituality and emotional layers and our own intuitive wisdom. And that's the breaking down you're talking about. We can go further inward with those things and really discover our superpowers, as opposed to continuing in that physical realm of like, oh, it needs to look like this. It needs to become this. I feel like I want to take the journey the opposite direction. So yes, growing up as a technique dancer, it was very much related to trying to be something that was more outside of your body as opposed to going inward and really saying like, why am I dancing and what superpower does it connect me to?
And by the way, for dancers that are listening, I imagine this is very identifiable. I mean, I've known a few dancers in my day, and a lot of them end up getting out of the profession, not necessarily because they're injured or hurt, but because I think that it's been so ingrained into them that there's only one way, and the joy is really lost. The joy that you cultivated in the beginning with it.
Oh my gosh, you nailed it. That word joy is everything that we hope to unravel again. We're entering these retreat containers because we are ready for transformational experiences, and we expect those to be deep. And that is very much a possibility of the impact these things will have. When I started, entering these containers before COVID, it was very different then. And now I feel like people are expecting that even more. And at the end of the day, I kind of still step back and I breathe and I just go, what if we all just find joy again? It doesn't even have to always go to that space. I think we just need to touch it again. And dance can give us that reference point again. Let's touch it again so we can remember how it feels.
What if dancers don't know, what if dancers who are listening, what if they don't feel worthy of that joy? What do? How do you make it? How do you create a space where dancers or people who are in the arts who may be interested in learning from you, coming to the retreat, but they understand that they don't have a worthiness around the joy. They don't have a right to the joy. How do you start with them?
Again, a really lovely question. I think that's what we're trying to do is we're trying to look at exactly what we're processing. So if you're walking in with a feeling of unworthiness, my guidance, and as well as Yolessa, who we'll talk about, my co-facilitator, our exact journey and obligation to these souls is to help you dance that exact thing that you are
Okay.
processing.
So
So
it's
if the unworthiness is coming in, we're going to arrive with more tools than dance. A lot of this is about literally moving energy, using qigong, using actual pineal gland shamanic openings, bringing these things into our dance so we can find the places in ourselves that remember that worthiness.
beautiful, beautiful.
There.
So if you're not
It's
feeling,
there.
sorry?
Yeah, it's there. That's
if
all.
if you're not feeling the joy, dance. If you're feeling the joy, dance. If you're feeling unworthy, dance. It sounds like it all goes back to dance. You talked about language at the beginning when you were talking about moving around the world with your family, and you mentioned language as a highlight or a part of that experience. What is the language of dance? What is the language of dance?
Oh, the language of dance is the language of breath and heart. You know, we came in, that is our innate rhythm. Everything in nature has that same rhythm. We can match it. We can speed it up like the ocean. We can calm it. We can, explore that. What I think is really neat about specific language and the way that I teach dance, it's actually very powerful to me that we choose words in a way that everyone can access dance. So I love that you bring up language. A lot of the work that I've done in California and Oakland with Access Dance Company, we were dancing with a realm of bodies, people in wheelchairs, people, with maybe limbs missing, amazing different types of ability levels, and constructing entire performances. So we would use a basic language where everyone can make a choice. And I think even as a technique dancer, to walk into a room full of people who have that technique language and say, move forward for 4 beats. You can do a million. That's endless. That's endless possibilities. So that professional dancer can move forward in such an incredibly technical way that they love. And then another person who has never even danced before can very well understand move forward. Cool. So my entire approach with dance is very sensitive around language. As much as I've worked with professional companies, the point to me is simplicity and allowing that choice. Because once people create a choice, that's their authentic creativity coming forward. That's their solar plexus shining. Oh. That's what we want. That's a dancer we want to see, the dropped in dancer, not the copying dancer. They're able to touch that. So
I just love this. I love being able to dip in. Obviously, we talk to different transformational leaders, being able to dip in and just get obsessed about one topic that someone's obsessed with, which obviously you love dance, is so powerful. You've said, Adge, that you're a rebel at heart. I think you said that in the pre-interview. When is the first time that you rebelled?
Oh, I would say...
Oh, you edited it. Did you edit it, Adge? Don't edit it on this show. I saw the eye movement.
I think I have a good example. I think I jumped to an older person example than my younger self. That was all. I would say the rebel in me really started when I fell in love with live music. I would do anything to go out and see live music. And if it's funny, just to be totally cheesy and tie it into dance, after all that technical training, to be able to go just lose it and really feel something, that's the dancer that comes on stage with me. That's what I would always tell my dancers too. The one that bedroom dances, the one that goes to your favorite band. So I wasn't always allowed to go to those shows, and I wasn't always of age to go to those shows. And in Philadelphia, we had a lot of access to music. So I started pulling some things in my life and doing some not so legal, things to get to music and dance. And really, that was it. That's what came to mind.
Great. Awesome. Thank you. I appreciate that. Embodied practices, or the term, it sometimes gets lost on those who need it most. How do you reconnect with your body when you've been disconnected from it for so long?
That's a really deep question. And my belief in that, and really kind of any way to reconnect, is having various access points. I think if we...
What does that mean? What does that mean, having access points?
I'll totally explain. So access points are consider the way that you actually get to make the connection. That's your point of access. So oftentimes when I think as humans, we feel disconnected, we may have experienced certain times that things worked for us, and we go back to those points. sometimes they don't fit anymore. And we have to be able to open ourselves to trying a different way. You know, if we're really used to physical movement and we get injured, we may have to turn to a much more somatic experience or a breathwork experience to bring those same levels of, you know, what we need to survive as humans if we're used to moving. So I think creating more access points, I think that's the biggest piece. You get a dancer in the door and it's like, yeah, you're here to dance, but what's really going to get you? Is it going to be going in through the mind? Is it going to be, you know, the calm lying down at the end of class? Is it going to be when it's really high tempo and you can't even think about anything else? Like, what's your point of Zen? So I think that's cool. I think that's cool about working with Yolessa too. She comes from all of the intuitive pineal gland access and brings it out into the body. So the two of us together are able to offer like two completely opposite avenues to this information when we come together at this retreat at Imiloa.
What is, to talk a little bit about Yoleni, because I don't think I've had the honor to be able to meet her yet. What is she bringing to the table?
So Yolessa Lawrence.
Sorry.
No, you're great. She is my co-facilitator and she runs the Sedona Healing Arts. She is a magnificent psychic medium, intuitive reader. And she happens to also have been a dancer with Martha Graham in New York City. So when I found her work, it was kind of like, for me, the last piece of energy work I was looking for, because she teaches a lot of intuition expansion in workshop style, like a lot more talk workshop, not movement oriented. So when I found that piece and then we started to bring our work together, we realized that we have two ways to express things. We can go from the outer body where we're feeling everything and go into that place of Zen and meditation, or we can use Yolessa's work and go more from that place of Zen and bring it out into the body to dance. So we just had a lot of fun complementing each other. Her intuitive energy work parallels my dance years. Both of us are about 18 years into that same deep studying. So it's great.
This sounds like that it's going to be a retreat for more than just people who are trained dancers. Like, it sounds like it's, because you're partnering with her, it sounds like it's also going to be a somatic experience for those who are looking to get more in touch with their body, who may not be traditional dancers.
1,000%. I'm glad we brought that point up. You know, that's already one of my philosophies, that it's accessible to everyone. However, you're exactly right. When we brought our modalities together, it expanded the container. It became such a powerful message of all accessibility. We have a lot of our really wonderful spots that are already signed up are not dancers at all.
Cool.
They are pretty much coming from more of the psychic, you know, intuitive realm, loving energy work, knowing how healing it is. And maybe they just love music or they love dance, but definitely this is for everyone. That is so important. So important. It's for all bodies, all abilities. Absolutely.
I had a whole thing. I mean, probably just disconnection with my body, although yoga really helped me. Ashtanga yoga helped me reconnect it. But when I was living at Imiloa during the pandemic, there was a woman there named Aliza Rivka who does ecstatic dance. She was trained by Gabrielle Roth in New York City. And so she was like, let's do an ecstatic dance for the mental health and wellness of our community when the borders were shut at Imiloa. And I was always like, I am not interested in doing this dance. Like, I'm going to go ecstatic dance with a bunch of hippies. Like, what are you talking about? So then I went to one because she was insistent on it. And I'm obsessed, Adge. Like, I am not a dancer. And yet that so totally profoundly transformed my relationship with my body. It was fun. It was exercise. I sweat like a wildebeest. But I also got to connect with myself in a way that I hadn't before. And I will tell you, she advocated for the mental health and wellness of our community during COVID. And it really provided mental health and wellness for our community. It was deeply transformative. And I know you're not necessarily doing ecstatic dance, but it doesn't matter. It's the somatic therapy that happens when you start to move through your body. So I'm curious, what can happen when we access memories that are stored in our cells through dance? What can happen for our lives?
Beautiful. I just want to take a moment and like revere in what you just said. That's a gorgeous example of someone doing some really authentic work through movement. You know, she obviously knows there's a healing to be had there. So by providing that container, people can step in and have those experiences regardless of what your lens was before. Totally. I feel this resistance around those. Being a technique dancer, I was always like, I can't dance weird and I can't let go. And I actually think that's the juice. the abandonment, the ability to lose the judgment. You even brought up unworthy, like how often that becomes our first go-to when we're asked to do the body, when we're asked to express in this way. And like I said in the beginning, we were all born with a heartbeat from the beginning of time, from the beginning of our existence. We have been dancing. We can't do anything wrong when we follow that heartbeat, and what you're really talking about, though, is being able to penetrate those layers of when the unworthiness comes up, when the apprehension comes up, when dance can actually help us transcend that part. That's where we're getting into the real memories that are stored in the cells. Our energy bodies store these memories in our cells. And unless we invite them to actually fully physically take over us and fully be felt, we can't release them. They're just stuck. They're just bouncing around like little ping pong balls in our bodies until we just say like, oh, I have really been experiencing anger. What does anger look like if I just moved my body, like how it feels? And then our body just goes, oh, thanks for that opportunity. You finally just did it. And you did it in a way that didn't impact the world negatively. You did it in a way that went out into the universe and then was transmuted into light. Because mere intention of self-healing is, automatic. The universe does the rest for you. It's that easy.
And to ground this out, because like, as I was listening to you, I was like, okay, well, that's great if you're speaking to a particular audience who thinks that our embodied or our somatic experience can bring out what's in ourselves. But all people have to look at, Adge, is like animals for like however many tens of thousands, millions of years. They get into a fight or flight situation, or a situation where perhaps they were angry or challenged or whatever it is, and they have to shake it off after. Like animals do this to be able to restore to a state of homeostasis as well, like a state of balance. Why are we just not moving through things? I mean, and of course, when I hear you talk, I'm like, I'm going to move in the way of anger. Like I'm going to look ridiculous. And this is someone who does ecstatic dance is convinced that I'm look ridiculous, but I feel even more ridiculous moving through, like, what does anger look like if I move through it? And it's that, I could feel my own head going like, I'm not even going to explore that. Like, I kind of want to go in the bathroom right now and explore what moving like anger looks like, but I'm not going to even explore that because I have such a block to it, just thinking about the idea of doing it. And I imagine many people feel like this, right? Probably people that you work with feel like this initially. Maybe not. Maybe you work with people that are open and ready to rock and roll.
I mean, even when I was at MLO and I got to come do the fam trip, which is just such a pleasure when you first come in to host, I remember asking a few of those guys to participate a little bit with me in some of the work I do in movement. And of course, even people that are boisterous and ready to bring their message to the world, I immediately watch them just go, I don't dance. Yeah. It's so real. It's so true that's our first thing. We just go, I don't dance. And it takes gentleness. I mean, we don't walk in day one and start like doing the dance of anger, especially in containers like this. And that's why it's so invitational to anyone. I think it's about bringing, again, different modalities that start to soften and help us to like envision what that dance may look like, so that when our bodies are being asked to step into it, we've created a reference point. Again, we've been able to sort of enter it and dabble in it a little bit and touch it a little bit and then explore it a little bit. And then suddenly we're like, okay, I can trust that I can become this. And I think that's really important.
You are such a beautiful ambassador to what it is you do. I mean, obviously you know this, you have to know this, but from a dance perspective, but just from an invitational perspective, I really appreciate your energy around it, but I also appreciate just your authority and your conviction and your recognition that not everybody's ready to go 0 to 60 just because they've come on your retreat. Like, you've got to introduce them in different ways. Like, you're a really great ambassador for this age.
That's really sweet to hear. I appreciate that so much.
I'm curious, what have other people who have experienced your retreats and your gatherings, what have they gone on to experience in their lives as a result of journeying with you? How has their life changed?
The first people that immediately come to mind are a lot of the younger students I worked with, teenagers for a long time. I ran a movement school locally for a period of my life. And I think that's probably the most potent space I ever taught in, because I was calling something jazz class or I was calling something contemporary class, and we were having full on spiritual transformational experiences. And it was because the level that was being brought into the room by dropping fully into presence, using tools that were a little outside the box of dance, really using logical things like the brain dance. We do go into workshop models in this retreat that are going to give you tangible, very simple ways that you can just turn your brain on through movement and dance very simply. And I think oftentimes I'll take a teenager, for example, when they entered a realm like that, it was just like cool, or it was like an after school activity. And the levels of finding purpose, transcending even those years of life and watching them blossom and touch their superpower at a time that, talk about unworthy and self-conscious, is like explosive. And it's almost like uncool to not be self-conscious, And I just feel like years of standing in front of even mirrors and teaching technical classes, but completely infusing it with intuition and energy work and bringing people to their own heart spaces. Those kids, I hear back from them all the time.
Cool.
I get and now Instagrams and all the things about the ways that dance and just taking dance class has completely rolled into every area of their life, and how often they turn on an old song even to have like a memory or an experience of being in class because it was saving them through a time that they didn't even like realize maybe they needed it.
Really cool. So then my question is, for those who are listening to this right now, have you ever felt like that you can't dance, or maybe you have danced, but you find it challenging to commit to a daily movement practice? Maybe you've been wanting to learn with someone who can help you integrate a daily practice into your daily life. I'm curious, Adge, if we can, as people are thinking about this and thinking about whether it may be right for them, can you share a little bit about the 5-day retreat? What will people gain? What will they experience? What will they learn? And like what the daily flow is. You talked about not starting with the anger dance on day one, which makes me think that you probably have a particular rhythm that you're going to let the retreat unfold in. Can you give us a sense of that rhythm, but also what are people going to learn and gain and experience as well?
1,000%. Thank you. First of all, the entire thing really is aimed at what you just brought up, daily practice. My work and my, ability to teach is fully rooted in every single person feeling seen, witnessed, held, and discovered in a way that like they fully integrate something and take it home. That's the point, and I think that every day is structured to have enough of a rhythm that's similar so that those little pieces that we're literally learning, like movement sequences, for example, that are based in Qigong and meditation and yoga and dance, that are literally orchestrated to move energy in ways that we can have a lot of fun with. Those are pieces that I really want to be repetitive enough so that people can then go back into their lives and really use the techniques that we're using. So I would say that's definitely always a consequence of coming and studying with me. Again, I'd love to bring up that idea of Yolesa. What we're learning gives us such a different access by sitting in actual workshops where we're going to legitimately shamanically be led through a pineal gland opening, like connecting with the third eye, having true visualization experiences and activation series where the movement is more like the breath and the cells themselves zinging, and how that becomes a dance in and of itself. So people will really be experiencing a lot of physical sensation, a lot of literal emotional movement. But like we said, I would love it if it's grief, joy, sadness, whatever it is. At the end of the day, it just has to be exactly what each person needs to experience. So there's going to be plenty of room for that. We will start with opening the chakras every morning, taking breath together, dropping in, aligning the body. We will go into that intuitive expansiveness as a way to notice what's going on with us each day and just meet ourselves right there. We will always go into a series of creativity because it is dance and it is art. So every day we will be creating and constructing art together, and we will have like a small intimate sharing of the things that we create at the end, which is really beautiful. Dance is a performing art, so being witnessed is a big part of its healing. So each day we'll fall into that creation, we'll fall into a little bit of expression, and then we'll always restore ourselves. I say it like that because my methodology has this really fun acronym for dancer. So it's D for drop in, A for align, N for notice, C create, E express, R restore. We're going to do it every day. That a very acronym, you'll get the entire wheel every day, over and over again. That's what I believe every dance class should have. I believe every self-practice should have. I believe every day of our lives should have each of those components. So it feels well-rounded, and it can happen in 5 minutes. It can happen in 5 hours. We can integrate these things and make them be part of our daily practice. I think it helps stick people, in that way.
You said something that I caught, and I'd love to just go back to it for a second. You said that the real healing in dance is being witnessed. Why?
You know what? That's such an interesting thing. That goes back to primal, like animal. When you brought that up, I thought about the being witnessed piece. I think that's the difference in humans. We are so in need of our community. And, when the world just changed so dramatically, everyone thought virtual forever. And look at us. We are crawling back to in-person containers with desperation to be with one another. And I think that by nature, we need to be held by our group. We're not meant to stand in front of everyone and pretend to be strong. We're meant to stand in our herd and say, I'm really tired today. Can you guys move in a little more closely and smushel me and hold me up? Thank you. It's time for that. It's time to allow those things. And what's cool is dance is this big performing art. It doesn't matter. It doesn't have to be that extravagant. It's the fact that if we discover something through movement and we're able to actually express it, here's my unworthy. Here's my anger, the things that I haven't been able to touch. Now I'm going to dance it. The power of that magnifies when everyone in your tribe also watches you dance it and gives you that much more validation to say, you did it. You healed that. It's now transmuted to light. It went into the universe and the universe has you now. I think by nature, that's a personal philosophy. We are so community oriented. We need to be together in this way.
I appreciate you sharing more about what you believed with that, because I caught it when you said it and I was like, God, that is so. I did an authentic movement class at a part of a men's retreat. And in the authentic movement exercise, you pair up. Someone sits on the side of the room in the pair. Someone gets in the middle of the room. You close your eyes and you move whatever your body wants to do for 30 minutes. And you are witnessed by this other person. And then the kind of mic drop bombshell moment is then you switch places. And the person who's witnessed you for 30 minutes then has to move for 30 minutes based on what he just witnessed you do for 30 minutes. And it was the most uncomfortable. First of all, to close your eyes and move for 30 minutes in front of a group of men is not exactly my cup of tea. Okay. And then the second thing is then being witnessed by someone, not ideal for me or most men. And then watching them interpret what they've just seen for 30 minutes, forget about it. But when you said that there's healing in being witnessed, I knew you had some gold there, and I really appreciate you sharing that.
Wow, that is quite an experience. That's really a deep dive right there, what you're talking about. And I mean, I just want to say, wow, yeah, men's retreats too. More of that. Way to step into containers. And I just love that work being done. And that's a great exercise. I do one similar, but it's not exactly that. So I was thinking about that. I do one where the person is the canvas and the other person is the painter, and they get to sort of offer swipes to the person as if they're painting, and that person has to move the way they're being swiped. And then that person stops and doesn't, give them any feedback anymore. And then you close your eyes and you continue moving the way they were painting you.
Oh,
and
that's
they
cool.
And we just talk about, that's a lot about how memory gets stored in your cells. How at first something's making you do something, but the second you take that trigger away, your body still knows how to do it, even if it wasn't the way you would have authentically chosen to move at that time. So that was fun that you brought that up. I could deep dive into dorky exercises.
Look at you, Adge Marz, you and me together. But let's not make it just you and me, because if you're listening to this and you want more information, you can go to imaloainstitute.com/age. That's ADGE, imaloainstitute.com/age. And I know you have a co-partner, and it's no offense. We just want to keep the URLs very, very short and sweet. So imaloainstitute.com/age. The retreat is happening July 7th to 12th, 2023 at Imaloa. Prices start at $4,300. And if you sign up with a friend, this was such a great idea, Adge. If you sign up with a friend, you save $1,000 on your ticket and you receive a spa service and a wellness bar as Adge's gift. And the reason why I think that's such a cool offer for folks, Adge, is because if you're going to a retreat like this, a dance retreat, somatic retreat, however you want to interpret it, it's first of all fun to bring a friend, and second of all, a little reassuring if you're a little nervous about what might come up. So this was really great. If you sign up with a friend, you save $1,000 on your ticket and you receive a spa service and wellness bar as Adge's gift. Yeah, amazing. Love it.
Can I add something there? I'm
Please.
so sorry. Yeah, I love that you said all that. And that's the point. I think the dancing with a friend, that was the deal we ran the whole time. That wasn't anything new. Like, I envisioned people signing up with friends. Yes. Come on, you gotta dance with your friend.
Yes.
So we're actually upping the ante. Our last 30 days here, we're even doing a buy one, get one half with your friend with those gifts. And the last of our spots are on 15% off sale, which is huge for us because we've done great. And we're just really thrilled to see what souls complete this circle for us. So definitely get in touch.
Wow, this is great.
Has all the info, and it just came into being because we're right at the June mark. So thanks for letting me add that in there.
Yeah, we love that. We're going to get that up to folks. So if you're curious and you want to learn more, imaloainstitute.com/age, ADGE. Thank you, Adge Marz. I just appreciate you so much.
I really appreciate you. Well done, Imaloa. We'll see you soon.
We'll see you very soon. All right. Bye-bye.